Hey, good morning, good afternoon, good night. How you doing? Snowflake stock's up 25% after they reported earnings this week. I'm going to talk about some new price targets that analysts have out there. I own the stock and I'm going to tell you exactly what I'm doing with it in my portfolio. But first, as always, I cover my portfolio. I show you the stocks that I own and I show you how my portfolio is doing so you know what my performance is and if I have an interest in the stocks that I'm talking about. Today, Friday, it's down $820. This is morning time. It's still early. I don't know what's going to happen. I really don't care on a day-to-day basis. Snowflake's up. It is my largest position, as you can see. And here are the rest of my positions right here. If you're interested in coverage on these, austin.substack.com is my email newsletter where I go in depth and give all my transactions before I make them to email subscribers. The link is down in the description. On the week, we're up $3,500, which is great. Most of that is on the back of Snowflake. Look at that, 30% this week. Position's up $3,300 by itself and doing great. And so let's look at all time. So we have swung back into the green. We're up $6,000. Portfolio value is $93,900. We're not up at an all-time high. We're a little bit below, but we've got more than we put in. We put in $87,900 so far, and we're on the journey to $1 million. So if you like that stuff, like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you can follow my portfolio and we could be long-term investors together. Let's talk about Snowflake. So they reported a very strong report. In just a second, I'll get into these price targets, and then at the end, I'll tell you what I'm doing with my position, so stick around. But let's cover their earnings report, okay? This is their financial release, and it was a very strong quarter. So product revenue, which is their most important revenue, $466 million in the second quarter, 83% year-over-year growth. There's really not another enterprise software company in history, maybe there's one or two, so don't quote me, that has grown this fast with that much revenue. That's a good sign, okay? And they beat their guidance, their previous guidance, which is also important. We want management to beat their own guidance that says we can trust what they say, essentially. 6,808 total customers, which is up nicely. Net revenue retention rate. This is how much customers spend in the next year after the current year. So 171% means customers that they already have are spending 71% more the next year. That's like automatic free growth without them having to go spend money on marketing and acquiring those customers. That is one of the highest numbers that I've ever seen, especially from a company with revenue at this large of a number or scale. And so that right there is a sign of a great company with a great product that is innovating and releasing more products that customers can keep paying more money for. 246 customers with trailing 12-month product revenue greater than $1 million. These are essentially their largest and most important customers. This was their strongest quarter ever for customers growing into that over 1 million category. I think it was about 40 customers more this quarter than last quarter, spending 1 million or more per year. During Q2, product revenue, this is from the CEO, Frank Slootman, grew 83%. We knew that our non-GAAP product gross margin exceeded 75%, which was on the high end of their range. And we continue to generate non-GAAP operating income and free cash flow. Very important that it's showing signs to generate cash and become profitable in the future if they decided to stop investing for so much growth. Frank Slootman, CEO and chairman of Snowflake, said, Snowflake's next frontier of innovation is aimed at transforming how cloud applications are built, deployed, sold, and transactions. So they're already talking about the next phase, their vision. They're not stopping here. They're still early in their lifespan, in my opinion, and have a lot of growth ahead. We look forward to executing against this growth opportunity. $466 million in revenue, $350 million in non-GAAP gross profit. Operating income, they did have a loss of $207 million on GAAP basis. Non-GAAP basis, they had operating income of $17.5 million or a 4% income margin. Net cash provided by operating activities, $64 million. And then free cash flow, so non-GAAP free cash flow was $53.8 million for a free cash flow margin of 11%. And then adjusted non-GAAP free cash flow, $58.6 million for a free cash flow margin of 12%. Okay, outlook. This was the other big thing. They actually upped their outlook, which is a lot different than other companies have done. They've brought guidance down, and people were scared, I think, that Snowflake was going to either miss their current quarter or bring guidance revenue guidance down. And that's why I think the stock had sold off a lot. And that's why we saw it rebound so much after the quarter, because people got less scared, and then obviously they want to rush and get back in. I didn't do any of that. I owned the stock and I just continued owning it. So it's a lot less stressful when you're a long-term investor, in my opinion. Anyways, 500 to 505 million for next quarter. So we will be paying attention to that. And I'll track that next quarter when they report earnings. Operating income margin of 2%. And then weighted average shares outstanding, 358 million. They also upped their guidance for the full year 2023. So not just next quarter, but the quarter after. They upped it to 1.905 billion to 1.915 billion, which is 67 to 68% growth. Pretty amazing. And then margins are also impressive and ahead of the company's earlier expectations. Product gross profit, 75% margin. Operating income margin for the year, non-GAAP, 2%. Adjusted free cash flow margin, 17%. These are ahead of where management was expecting to be at this time, okay? Let's take a look at what analysts are expecting, and we sort of talked about this, for like earnings per share and revenue growth for the next few years. And this starts to give us an idea of, hey, the price to sales multiple on Snowflake right now is pretty high. So if we look at it, the forward price sales ratio for January 2023 is 30. And some people would say, I would never own a stock like that. Well, they're expected to continue growing revenue the next year, 50%, year after 44, 52, 33, 28. And then beyond that, we can't really go, much further, but even just out to 2027, if they hit these numbers, which I think they can, or beat them, then you're looking at a price sales ratio from 30 down to 6.8. Okay. So, and that's pretty normal. But then when you look at the future, if this company can keep growing in the high 20s or 30s or mid 30% for the next few years after that, that brings it down even further, and it gets even cheaper on a price sales basis. So sometimes you have to pay up for growth. People will argue that there's a limit to that. There obviously is. I'm comfortable owning my shares right now, and so I'm not selling my shares, but I'm also not looking to buy more shares. Like I talked about, I have a full position. It is 15% of this portfolio right now for $15,000, and my target is 10%. So I'm not going to sell it to bring it down to that target, but over time, as I keep adding money to this portfolio, Snowflake will come down as a total percentage of the portfolio, and other companies will come up. I just think there's great values in other companies that I want to keep adding to, and I'm happy with the position I have in Snowflake. When we look at it on a forward PE basis, you see like 1,200. People would say, oh my gosh, I would never own a 1,200 PE stock. Okay, I respect that. But if you look out and this company has a lot of growth ahead, it gets down into the 40s, the 30s, and even the 20s in the future if they're able to keep growing earnings. Now, I'm not going to just blindly own the stock. I'm going to monitor it. I'm going to track it quarter to quarter, make sure they're hitting these metrics. But I'm totally comfortable with where it's at because I'm a long-term investor. I would love to own these shares for 10 years, 15 years, and 20 years if the business continues to excel, which all signs point to they are right now. So I'm happy right now. Don't just listen to me. I'm a nobody. Morningstar, which they get things wrong, but very respected. They actually say Snowflake's undervalued at a 33% discount to their $295 fair value. So that's a price target right there, at least in Morningstar's opinion, $295. Last close, it was at 196, so 33% upside. They give it no economic moat, which I disagree with. I think they actually have a moat because once customers come in and more customers come in, there's a network effect. They don't want to leave. They don't want to use another sort of like data cloud or data analytics or data operationalization company, but exemplary capital allocation. Okay, this is what they had to say. We are maintaining, this is after their earnings report. We're maintaining our fair value estimate of $295 per share for no moat Snowflake. Shares are up 18% after hours to around $188 per share, putting Snowflake's shares in 4-star undervalued territory given our very high uncertainty rating. Okay, now I talked about new price targets. Well, here are the new price targets that came from Wall Street banks, right? So this was on August 25th. Goldman Sachs raises Snowflake's price target to 220 from 192. We see Loop Capital 210 from 180, Citigroup 222 from 175, Jefferies 220 from 200, Stifel 180 from 120, Cowen 235 from 230. Wow, $5 increase. 197 from 170, Canaccord 200 from 185. So everybody came out and upgraded it, right? To me, I take those with a grain of salt, but I mean, it does tell you that how people are thinking about the stock. Everyone came out and upgraded it, right? Again, this is not when I'm buying more shares of Snowflake. I try to invest in great companies and invest early, and I want to be one of the first people to buy it, before a lot of the big banks on Wall Street, and I want to be one of the longest shareholders of the company. That's what you get when you watch this channel, so do me a favor, like the video, subscribe to the channel, get more content like this. I will be covering my portfolio for the week and what Powell says at Jackson Hole this week and how that impacts the market in another video today. So check it out. Have a great one.